There is a place, nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home, constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
Greetings, folks. I'm Ron Kennedy, Chief of Heritage Operations for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. I'm happy to welcome you to this, our first Commander's Comment via real-time live streaming. And I'm honored to be here tonight with our recently elected Commander-in-Chief, Jason Boshers. Now, being we are live streaming, we'll be able to answer some questions that you posed in the chat. We won't be able to get to all of them for time constraint, but I will address those that we cannot get in due to time constraints in an upcoming Confederate Legion newsletter. So your questions are important to us. We want to know what you want to know about the Commander-in-Chief's plans or the what's going on with the SCV or the Confederate Legion. So we're looking forward to responding to you. Now, before we get started, I want to acknowledge the work, the fine work that Ray Shores and his staff at Victory Flag have been doing for really the last more than 4 years, a little over 4 years they've been doing it. And we really appreciate that. They've worked hard. They brought the Commander's Comment. They've taped it. That's an old term. They tape it. They don't tape anything, but they digitally recorded it in the studios in Ray's office. He set aside part of his business operation so they could do that. Did it for past Commander-in-Chief Gremlin and then past Commander-in-Chief McClooney. So we do appreciate Ray's work. We are now doing this Commander's Comment live stream, and we're really looking forward to it. I also want to give a special thanks to Moose and all the folks with Look Around the Confederation for agreeing to live stream the Commander's Comment on the first Thursday of each month at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Very important. I think I left that out on my constant contact notice that I just said 7 p.m., but it is Central Standard Time. With that said, Commander Jason Boshers, and of course, those of us in Louisiana, we're going to get you to say that different, but that's all right. We'll leave it right now. But Commander Boshers, would you give us a quick overview of our 2022 National Reunion in Georgia, because it was really a great reunion. I had a chance to meet a lot of the friends that I have had for many, many years, and I also had a special occasion to meet a special friend. And Moose, do you have that picture of me with that special friend? Let's see if Moose has that. We may have caught him sleeping. Oh, there I am. Yeah. So, it's always wonderful to meet your old friends, but especially people that you admire. I love this. I'm going to keep that forever, that picture of me and General Lee. All right, Moose, take that down, and we're going to turn it over to the Commander-in-Chief, Jason Boshers.
Oh, and I love that Louisiana accent and the way I'll say it. I can remember my first trip down there, and and it's well, how do you pronounce it? And Boshers, I go, no, that's not right. It's Bochet. And they're saying you're saying your name all wrong. And come to find out, I've had kinfolk down in Louisiana, and we have some of them that have migrated up here into Tennessee. And one of them was my dentist. And the first time I go to see him, he called me Bochet. He did not call me Bochet. And him and I had that discussion. And I would like to echo the words that you said concerning Ray Shores and Flags and More. They have done such a fantastic job. Having talked to him, having visited with him, sat at the table with him at a couple of luncheons. This man's heart is in the right place. He cares about this organization. He cares about what we're doing. And he had all these ideas and all these things he wanted to bring to the table. And it was just a really big deal for me, and a real pleasure to sit beside him at a luncheon and just talk for a few minutes. And of course, I visited his shops when we were at the national reunions, and I just want to thank them, Ray Shores and Victory Flags and More. They have done a fantastic job. And talking about the reunion, boy, I tell you, they had a wide open, tactful schedule. They had, and where we were in Cartersville, we were halfway between Chattanooga and Atlanta, all up and down Highway 41, and you could go anywhere and see anything that you need to go north south, and in just an hour's time you were in the middle of something, and they had tours going there, and from what I can tell, everything went off without a hitch as far as the tours go, and that was one of my concerns because we all know Georgia traffic, and we all know Atlanta traffic. And all we had to have was one fender bender, and all of a sudden everything's running late. But they must have done a fantastic job working all that, and the turnout was fantastic. 2 weeks, nearly 3 weeks before, we had 435 people that were registered delegates. So we had 435 3 weeks out. So by judging the crowd, I know they had 480 chairs put out. I know that there were some more that were put out along the back wall. So we easily had 475 plus people there that were, registered members of our organization. And that is a great turnout.
It really was.
And it's and there were so many wives and girlfriends and children there that the lobby was always full. All of the restaurants in Cartersville and surrounding area were full. If you were going to go eat and on any afternoon anywhere in Cartersville, it was full. Yeah. And it just great fellowship. Everybody was standing around talking, getting along. And as far as the business goes, now, if you were fond of some of the amendments, there were very few amendments that passed. In fact, of the 12, I'm not aware of any one of the amendments that passed. I believe all of the amendments failed, and but it was a great business session, and it was one of the things that I liked the most was on Friday. We ended up having a very good discussion during the business session concerning how we're going to interact with the media. And I hate to say that it got heated because it didn't get heated. Nobody was screaming or yelling, but
it was passionate.
Yes, and that is a very good term, and thank you for using that term. It was a discussion that went back and forth, and you're you become very much aware that we're going to have to deal with the media, and we're going to have to deal with the way to get our message out, and we're going to have to deal with the fact of how we're going to handle spokespeople, how our spokesman, how we're going to have to train them. If we're going to have to, uh, at least somebody on the division level is
Exactly.
going to have spokesmen throughout their division, and they're going to have to be trained on how to address this, because there's just some people, as what was said in the meeting, there's some camp that we all have members. The last thing you want to do is put a camera and a mic in their face, because you have no idea what's going to come out. And there's more damage that can be done in just 30 seconds than this organization will have to fight their way out of for years to come.
Yeah.
Now, and that's, and we're all passionate. Go ahead, Mr. Kennedy. I know you wanted to say something about that.
No, I was just going to say, Donald and I doing radio and television interviews for 30 years now. They're always out looking for a gotcha,
Oh, yes.
and a lot of times people take that personal and they get aggressive. Well, you can't do that. You got to learn how to play the game. You got to learn how to respond without giving them ammunition, because that you lose your cool and you get off topic. That's the part they're gonna cut and put on the 6 o'clock news.
Yes.
And if you got somebody there with the wife beaters T-shirt on and a Confederate flag tattoo, that's going to be the lead part that's
Yes.
going to go away. So it is very important, but we must, as you said, and I agree with you, and I'm going to do all I can to help. We need to be able to break into the media, national as well as local.
Oh, yes, sir. And the media is the way that we're going to have to get our message out there. The way we're doing it, it works, but it's slow and it takes a long time. A good media outlet that is friendly to us would take us in a long way, especially on the national level. And that's one of the things that I know that the Kennedy twins have chased for a long time, and it's something that I'm very much in a complete agreement with. The problem that we'll get is if we can have the best media message that we can put out there, and we put the message out there, and they catch somebody and put a mic and a camera, and they use a couple of keywords that get them agitated, and they know the words to use.
Oh, yeah.
They know the words to poke you. And not that anybody would do anything intentionally damaging to their family, their heritage, the organization, or anything, but there's more damage that can be done in just 30 seconds than 4 years worth of media out there on Newsmax that could overcome. So, but it was obvious during a discussion on Friday that it is one of those things that needs to be addressed. And even in the post GEC meeting, I brought that up.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things that hit me right off the bat is, okay, we're going to have to address this, and we're going to have to address it in a manner that is going to help our organization, plus still get our word out there. Because in most cases, and I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this, is I would love for the Sons of Confederate Veterans to be stop number one for everything Confederate. We need to be stop number one for everything Confederate. Something pops up out there. We need to be, we need a response. They need to be contacting headquarters. They need to be contacting general headquarters. And then from general headquarters, well, this needs to go to Donald Kennedy. This needs to go to Ronald Kennedy. This needs to come to the Commander-in-Chief. This needs to, and then get a message out that way. But they don't even consider us. And I'm just going to put it on a very personal level. At the beginning part of this year, January and February, I spent a great deal of time with the Tennessee division up in Nashville talking to politicians. Now, when we first went in, they never got our name right. We were those Confederate people, or those Southern, those Confederate guys. But by the time it was all over with, and I spent 9 days, there were several of us, but I spent 9 days up there. But the one benefit that when we got out of that was when we left, they were calling us the Sons of Confederate Veterans. So they started out, they didn't even know us. Well, now we're past the point of them knowing us.
Absolutely.
If we go back next year, they're going to know us. Go ahead, Mr. Kennedy.
Now, I was going to say, that is a perfect example. The worst thing you can do is not go up there. Yeah, yes. I know sometimes it's embarrassing. Sometimes you get called names, and sometimes they call you the Confederate or Sons of Dixie Confederates, or, they've never heard of us. But Sons of the Confederacy, yeah. Yes. But the important thing is to make that presentation and then be back next year. Now, yes. In the meantime, every camp in Tennessee needs to be sending letters, emails, and old-fashioned snail mail letters to their representatives and say, look, the Sons of Confederate Veterans, this is what we believe in. And the majority of the people in Tennessee support these issues. So you're right on track. And that's what we've got to get done. And that's our plan. Locally, it's the division and the camp's responsibility. Nationally, the national SCV's got to address the national media, and we got plans to do that.
Oh, yes, sir. And I'm looking forward to that. I've been talking with the Kennedy twins for a little while about this, and I'm excited about the things and the plans that y'all have. But you are so right. Now, from here on out, when we go to see them now, the Tennessee politicians, they've at least got our name right.
Exactly.
And once they get your name right and they keep seeing you, the worst thing you can do is hit and fall back. I mean, I can understand a tactical retreat, but you just don't just show up one time and leave. Exactly. You keep going and you keep going, and you make them realize that they're going to have to deal with you. And you make them learn your name, and you're going to get, you either want one or two reactions. You either want them to roll their eyes going, oh, goodness, here they come again. Or you want them to say, thank goodness you're here. Yeah. You want one of those two reactions. There's some of them, they wanted us there. There were some politicians wanted us there. They needed us there. Mm-hmm. And we were there to support them. And they're still supporting us, and we're still supporting them. And they know that we're going to be going back next year with some more legislation. But like you said, that's on the Tennessee level. Okay. What's Louisiana doing? What's Alabama doing? What's Georgia's doing? And you realize that this comes down to, as we have been saying, this comes down to the individual, the power of the individual, and the individuals in the camp, with the camps being the most strong, the most important entity and the most powerful entity that we have. Is we have good camps that's out there doing the work. Well, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
That's right.
And if they know that they're going to have to look across the table and they're going to have to deal with those Confederacy boys, the Sons of the Confederacy and Sons of Confederate Veterans, they know they're going to have to deal with them. They're not as likely to talk about taking down your monument on the square.
That's right.
If they know that they're going to have to look eye to eye with you, and they know that you know them, and they're going to have to look across the table from you. So we have to be involved, but you have to be involved on the local level. Now, people are going to say, what's National doing? Well, National we've always tried to work to get the message out, but there's only so much we can do. I'm not going to say but truncates everything you said before that. We have always tried to do as much as we could. However, we can't get the message out to everywhere. One of the things that I faced when I was doing the job that Mr. Don Kennedy has as a lieutenant commander-in-chief is getting the information out to the local camps, is getting the information out, because the chain of command always seems to falter somewhere along the way. You get it out, and you get out to the Army commanders get it out to the division commanders get it out to the brigade commanders, And in some cases, it made it all the way to the camp. In some cases, it just flatlined.
Right.
You know, so when the information comes down, you know, the brigade commanders is getting it out to the camp. They're just as important as the army commander taking and getting it to the division commander, because you know you are only as strong as your weakest link. And the only thing I've always said is I never want to be the weakest link. You know, I don't want the information to come to me to die. I want the information to come to me to be spread out even more. And my whole point is let's go ahead and let's make the Sons of Confederate Veterans and those boys that are sons of the Confederacy. Let's go ahead and let's stop being the best kept secret. And let's become stop number one for all things Confederate. And I know I took out my soapbox. Mr. Kennedy, have at it.
No, but you're absolutely right, because all I'm here, I'm in the amen corner with you, you know, because you're preaching my sermon. You keep preaching, I'll turn the pages. Okay. I mean, you're just doing a great job there, but it's important because we also need to realize that the national SCVs has got to eventually have some show in the National Congress. You know, we've got to have some show. Now, you say, now, how can we do that? Well, if we start advertising in conservative media, like, and I'm not going to call any names, but there's certain conservative media that's nationwide. If we start advertising there, and we can advertise our museum, we don't have to put a big rebel flag up. We'll advertise our museum, and once they go and listen to the little QR code and listen to that fine ad about our museum, then it gives them the website that they can come to. They can join, they can find out more information. But the idea is we can get this word out that people in Washington will start saying, whoa, who are these people? Mm-hmm. Now, we go back to our main strength, which is the local camps. Every Republican, conservative, Democrat who is in Congress right now holds town hall meetings. You know, he has to run. He's a congressman is continually running. Every 2 years there's an election. He has to come back more so than the senators. He has to come back and hold town hall meetings. Every town hall that he goes to in his district where there's a SCV camp, we should have every SCV camp member at that town hall raising our hand, wanting to know, what are you going to do about the insult, the slander that's being produced against our Southern heritage? And what are you going to do about getting our monuments back in the Capitol where it belongs, the honorable place? And we've got to bug those people to death locally. And look, don't forget, they all have local offices. You can go to their office, knock on the door. Hey, I'm with the Sons of Confederate Veterans. We've got an issue, and we want you to send this up to Congressman XYZ. If we do things like that at the local level, again, everything we do in the SCV is done primarily via our camps and our individual members. But if we do this, we can start rattling cages all over Washington, D.C., which in and of itself will give us more opportunity, media exposure. The more media exposure we get, the more national members we can pick up. So we can grow the organization like that. And I'm pontificating. But I wanted to ask, Commander, do you see what are the major challenges you see for us right now as an organization?
Well, and to me, challenges are just opportunities. I mean, a lot of people see challenge. Well, we got a problem we're going to have to overcome. Well, that gives you an opportunity to do something, because if there's generally any chaos out there and any kind of things that's producing any kind of challenges, you have the capability of creating an opportunity for something to come out of this. Since we have mentioned the Confederate Museum, if we're going to talk about a challenge, well, we talk about the challenge of paying for our museum, everything that we're having to do with that. But what is the benefit, or what is the opportunity that museum creates when we treat that museum the way that we should treat it? I mean, it is, okay, we're talking about Southern history, and we have sitting here talked about Confederate history, but let's talk about Southern history. When we're starting that timeline, we're starting in 1607.
Yeah.
Because American history needs to move beyond all things Confederate. We need to be all things. Okay, all right. You said it, and I just said
Absolutely.
it. So, but American history is Southern history, and Southern history is Confederate history. It is all tied together. So if we start in 1601 and we talk about the foundation of this nation, we're talking about our history. Now, our combined histories. We're not talking simple Confederate history here, but the National Confederate Museum gives us the opportunity to be able to tell how our nation was created and how that has affected us from 1607 until right now. Because guess what? We're still creating history every day. But
That's
that
right.
museum gives us an opportunity. The National Confederate Museum gives us an opportunity. Is it a challenge? Yes. Now we have the challenge of pay for it. We have the challenge of putting artifacts in there. We have the ability and the chance to be able to tell the story, a true, real, and factual story that they're not going to get anywhere else. They're not going to get it unless their mama and daddy or their grandparents are Southern minded. They're not going to get these lessons. And you mentioned the QR codes. We have Jimmy Hill and Robert Juleson that have done such a fantastic job in the timeline. I was sitting there watching the video that started. That was done the first year that I was Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, and Forrest Dawes as the voice of the Confederacy. We could not ask for anything any better than that. But I was looking at the contents in that museum, and it has changed so much in those 2 years, and it is continuing to change. And if you come back in 6 months, it's going to look completely different. If you come back in 3 months, it's still going to be different. But Jimmy Hill and Robert Juleson have done such a fantastic job of telling the stories and getting us that can write and people that can write to write these sections and putting them and creating this timeline. And then there's going to be the Wall of Heroes. That is just going to be a picture, and it's going to be a little information with the QR code, and you're going to be able to scan that QR code, and it's going to tell you the rest of the story. Now, how many kids, where else are you going to be able to get that, to get the true history? As you always get a biased. You got to think, I graduated Mount Pleasant High School in 1982, and they were telling me then that I should be ashamed of my Confederate ancestry. Now, see where I am right now. So just exactly how much did I pay attention in school? But you realize after a while that it's a message they're sending you, and it's indoctrination, and we're not doing this. We're just putting the information out there in front of you. It's your decision if you want to do it and you want to accept it. We're not standing in front of you in a school saying this is what you're going to have to do. You can come to this to our National Confederate Museum, and you can find out the history of our organization, but you can also find out about the complete history of this of our nation. And isn't that where our history really lies? And the fact from the beginning of this nation all the way to now, we've always had this impact. Okay, you asked if it was a struggle. Yes, it is a struggle, because we're always going to have to be working on it. But look at the opportunity that it has given us. Mm-hmm. And to me, one of the other opportunities coming off of it is facing some of the other challenges we have, which are politically. We have already talked about some of those. This gives us an opportunity to address these from a historical organization and museum eyesight. We can say the National Confederate Museum. You know, to me, I see the National Confederate Museum and the Sons of Confederate. I see that National Confederate Museum to be our hub. This is our hearth, our home, with all of these things that come off of it to give us opportunities. It gives us opportunities to advertise. The National Confederate Museum, we are a museum. We can advertise as a museum. We're not having to put the battle flag in their face.
Right.
We're just going out there and advertising at the museum. What are they going to get when they come to see us? Okay, this is an opportunity. Go ahead.
Now let's go. What are they going to get when they just put their little phone over that QR code in the advertisement, and they're going to get that bit of information? And excited as I am about people coming to the museum, let's face it, even we got 1,000 people a day through there. We're talking about the South alone, around 40 million people, and the nation, good Lord. But by advertising the museum, we get the message out to everyone that yes. sees that. And I know there's one, and again, I'm not going to mention the name, but there's one print media that's both print and digital, and it has about almost 250,000 subscribers. Now, that's not free, okay? And that's why, and I need to point out to all the Confederate Legion members and those who have not yet joined the Confederate Legion, we need you to re-up, get your money back in. The coffers are running down at the end of the year. Join up again, because we're going to use that money to advertise nationally, as well as help out with radio ads, et cetera, as we've always done. But this museum, if I hate to use the word propaganda because people think of it as a bad word, an evil word, but it is a great, we'll just call it a public relations opportunity to go national. And even if someone in Wisconsin never comes to Columbia, Tennessee, if he sees or she sees that ad and listens to that advertise and then goes on our website, hey, we're gonna start picking up members. We're gonna pick up people who want to be members, but they're not sure if they qualify. Well, if you're at Mail and you think you might have a Confederate, now if you came over, from Vietnam during after the Vietnam War, probably you don't have a Confederate ancestor, but you can still be a friend of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. But we've got to work. My aim is to see before Jason Boshers turns over to another CIC, I want to see us double our membership. And we can do it if we have the support of the local people, of our local camps, and of our members, especially if they'll join the Confederate Legion. And again, let me remind everyone, the Confederate Legion is part of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. We answer to the GEC. I take my directions from the Commander-in-Chief. So I still have people go, well, why do we need a separate organization? It's not a separate organization. It's a part of the SCV's outreach effort. Commander, can you just quickly, and this, I hate to, we were taught you never talk about money at the dinner table or at the supper table or at the breakfast table. That's just some things you don't talk about. Mm-hmm. Well, neither one of us are eating. Tell me what, and you've told me, and I want you to share with others, how long at our current rate of paying on that? Because I know a lot of people are worried about the debt, and they should be, the mortgage. And again, I'm going to use the term mortgage, although it's not exactly like a mortgage, but it's basically the same. If we pay our mortgage payments that we're doing right now with no additional payment, how long will it take us to retire this debt?
Well, if we don't pay anything additional, you're still looking in the 15 to 16 year range if we keep up the path that we're doing now. The way things are coming in, if we stay on the path that we are and we can pay just a little bit extra, we're looking at a 10 to 12 being able to do it. But that's not anything that I'm wanting to run out that long. And right. If you were at the National Reunion, you saw how much our interest that we're paying every month. Mm-hmm. The interest we're paying every month is it hurts. And that is the reason why that I would love to retire the debt. And I'm just calling it retiring the debt. I would love to retire the debt as quick as we could. It is no different than you wanting to pay your house off early. It is no different than you wanting to pay your credit card off. The quicker you get it paid off, the more money you save. Some of the ideas that were coming up from the different armies, because myself and your twin Ron, we were going around visiting with the armies that Saturday morning, and I go into the Army in Northern Virginia, and the debt of the museum and how it's going to be paid for was the topic of discussion when we walked in the door. And of course, your brother had to address it, and I had to address it. And people say, well, it's the elephant in the room. Well, not anymore. We have talked about it for so many years now, a couple of years, that, this is no longer the elephant in the room. But are we going to keep putting lipstick on this elephant, or are we just going to get this elephant out of the room? Let's just go ahead and do what we can to hurry up and get the debt paid off as quick as we can, because that's going to free up funds to do anything else. Because a couple of things we still haven't addressed, and while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and kick a hornet's nest, because this is one of the things that has bothered me the most, is we have not addressed the fact that we do not have any funds set aside to purchase artifacts. Right now, we are relying on people to donate and loan. But, what if we had a fund set aside to be able to purchase artifacts when they do come up? Because some of the, there's some artifacts that are fully documented. There is a one I saw not long ago, fully documented flag, and they wanted $91,000 for it. But they have the full history of it, full documented, already been preserved. What if we had the funds to be able to do that, or we had donors? Well, if you're sitting there and you're trying to pay off your debt, you're not going to be able to fund anything like that. Let's not put the cart in front of the horse. If anybody there was in Jacksonville, people that were there in Jacksonville saw everything brought forth about the museum, and how that was handled, and how things have been secured since then, so that this can never happen again. And okay, so now let's go ahead, and the baby's born. Okay, when I was in Jacksonville, okay, the baby's born. What are we going to do? Are we going to abandon the baby, or are we going to raise the baby for it to be the best that we can do? And now I see it as a complete opportunity for us to come out of this with the museum, using the museum as our hub for spreading our word out, to make our organization, and then to not only do that, but okay, we can use it to deal with the political part of it. We can use it for fundraising. And one of the things that we've talked about the most is, what are we going to do about education? Okay, and I'm looking at the committees. If you go into our standing orders, you go into our Constitution, you look at our standing orders, we now have 15 committees. And I'm starting to look at I have been looking at every one of those committees, and one of them is in education. Well, what can we do about bringing homeschool kids there? Now, I know that we're not going to get one of the major public schools to ever agree to come to us. I get that. I think it's bad for them, but they're not going to do it. But what can we do about having homeschool kids there? And all of a sudden, this museum becomes an educational arm. So this is not the museum is not a single purpose. To me, it opens up endless possibilities. Now, the challenge that we have, and we just addressed it, is how we're going to pay for it and how are we going to put artifacts in it. So it in of itself is a challenge, but the opportunities that come out of it could be very well, if we raise the baby the way we should raise the baby. We're
going to do that.
Yes.
We're going to do that. Listen, we're getting on close to time to take a commercial break. But before we do that, I won't call out the divisions, but there were one or two divisions that have said that they're going to take it upon themselves to raise enough money each year to pay an additional payment. Mortgage payment. I mean, that is wonderful because that money goes straight against the principal if it
Yes,
works like a traditional mortgage. Now,
it does.
I'm not a CPA, so don't get me, or a financier, but
Yes.
God knows I'm not that. But anyway, and then there's also the possibility of smaller divisions that can't raise enough money of joining with other small divisions and together either raise enough money to pay an additional note or at least raise enough money to pay the interest on one note, so everything goes that month against the principal. And
Yeah.
you'd be surprised at how quickly you can bring this thing down just by that efforts. But the
Yes.
most important thing is if we double our membership, we half the load that we have to carry. And that's what we want to do. I know Jason wants to take this advertising campaign nationally. We want to get more members in. We want to get them in immediately as soon as they are wanting to join, get their money, get them started in the process, even though they're not a full member yet. We want to, you got to, as my daddy used to say, you got to strike while the iron is hot, or he also used to say, you got to make hay while the sun is shining. But that's when someone is really interested, that's when you got to do it. All right, we're up to 7:40, Moose. If you want to go to a break and give the Commander-in-Chief chance to wet his whistle, because I know you must be from Mississippi. You make a good filibuster. You can really talk well. All right, Moose,
I will take that as a compliment, considering some of the best friends I have are from Mississippi.
That's right. Thank you, sir. All right, Moose.
When my mother was in college, she danced with Confederate veterans. To me, it wasn't that far away. My father knew this. My mother knew this. Almost 50 years ago, I joined the Sons of Confederate Veterans. In those days, we weren't concerned about saving monuments or any of those things. That wasn't necessary. In fact, none of us had any remote idea that it would ever come up. We can't just sit there and react. We have to be proactive. Or, as Robert E. Lee said, the best way to disrupt your enemy's plans is to strike first. Everyone should do all in his power to collect and disseminate the truth, in the hope that it may find a place in history and descend to posterity. History is not the relation of campaigns and battles and generals or other individuals, but that which shows the principles for which the South contended and which justified her struggle for those principles. If you're looking for some place to be where you think you're going to accomplish something to save our history, go to the Sons of Confederate Veterans. I'm Thomas Lee Jesse. I'm a descendant of Private Daughtery Gilmer, a Confederate veteran.
Wow. That's one of those ads I want to see national. I want to see that ad on Newsmax. I want to see that ad following Tucker Carlson. Now, that's going to take some money. It's not cheap, but if we can do some of the things like we've been talking about, we can take our movement national. We can get the national talking heads to come to us. And Jason, you and I have discussed this many times, that how aggravating it is when there's a Southern issue, regardless of what the issue. A while back, they were trying to get rid of weddings in antebellum homes because it was racist. We should have been in the middle of that, telling the truth about what's going on. And yet the media will get some wimpy, and I'm being polite, but you folks out there know what I really mean when I say wimpified professor from a, quote, Southern university who spends the whole time, instead of defending the South and our honorable heritage, apologizing for slavery and racism. That has got to stop, and we are the people to stop it. Jason, recently in Kentucky, a lot of our fellow Southerners have really experienced a lot of tragedy, of which our thoughts and prayers go out to them. But I know we have a relief fund in the SCV for SCV members. Is
Yes.
that still available? And
Oh,
do
yeah.
you know if anybody from Kentucky has made use of it yet?
And I've asked around, and to answer your first question, yes, it is still available. It's the SCV Relief Fund, and I'm going to ask Moose if he would go ahead, and I talked to him about this ahead of time. Go ahead and pull the website up. Now you can go to scv.org, and if you go there, you'll notice on the far right there is a donate button. You'll see the battle flag, and then you can say donate, and if you click on that, it's going to take it a minute to pull up because of the deal we're working on here. But this is everything that you can donate to. As you can see, there at the very top, then you have the SCV Relief Fund. Can you scroll back up to the top, Moose? Okay, you'll see the Confederate Museum. You want to do something for that, you can donate there. You have the Heritage Operations Fund, but you'll see the SCV Relief Fund. And what that is for us to contribute, and we all need to be contributing. So when we have something and our members go through everything that they've been through, Kentucky had that terrible tornadoes that went through in Mayfield and just tore up Jack. Talk to some of them up there. And of course, they're going through the flooding right now. There have been issues in Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi with the tornadoes. And this is brother helping brother. When you give funds to this is people that are members of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. They're a member of our organization, and they have faced a disaster where they have lost everything. I saw some of the pictures on Facebook, and water was up in houses, and there was a few spots where there were people up on the roofs. So during the middle of all of that, we have had a member that has suffered. Now, this is where it's going to be up to the camp commanders and the brigade commanders and the division commanders to find out and, keep track of your members and talk to your members. And if your members have had a disaster where they have lost, like I know so many of them have, you can request relief from this SCV Relief Fund. All you have to do is just let General Headquarters know. You can send it to, if you want to send it to me, which is cic@scv.org, or send it to membership@scv.org and let somebody know. Or if you know your Army commander, send it to your Army commander and your Army councilman. Just send word up the chain that somebody needs help. And there's a relief fund committee, and they will work to getting them what they need. Now, they give out up to $500. So, $500 is, if you've lost everything, $500 might put clothes on your back and food in your belly for
That's right.
a few days. But it is brother helping brother. So when you contribute to this, somebody's going to have an issue like they have in Kentucky, and they are a member, they've had a full loss or partial loss or something, and they need help. And what you give will be going straight to them. There isn't any thumb on the scale or money taken off the top. If you give out our family who lost property, it is bad. Yes, sir, Mr. Fugit. And, but this is, just think of it as you helping your brother in another state, because that's exactly what you're doing. He's lost everything. You've contributed to this, but it's not just doled out. There's a committee that makes sure that they're SCV members, and, so the money's just not thrown out for anybody. But you would be giving help to them. So please keep them in mind, and please keep, because we're in that part of the season. I'm here in Tennessee. We're having a lot of thunderstorms. For 3 years in a row, we had damage here on the house where it either blew siding off or blew shingles off or something like that. It's just normal for this. I know Louisiana has been through it numerous times. This relief fund is going to provide people with some help. And now that we're entering this storm season, think about helping your brothers. And right now, keep the people in Kentucky in your minds and in your prayers,
Amen.
because there's some of them that are really suffering.
That's
And
right.
help them if you can. If you know somebody up there, find out if you can help them directly. If you don't, contribute to the SCV Relief Fund. And that way, find somebody. And Kentucky commanders and brigade commanders, camp commanders, division officers, find out if any of your guys have been affected and help them.
A lot of people asked, when South Carolina seceded, it wasn't any time at all before way over in Mississippi. Mississippi seceded. I mean, it just happened like that. And they said, why was that? You're not even connecting. And I would always say, yes, we were connected. Yeah. We're kith and kin, not kiss and kin. Well, maybe some of that, but kith and kin, friends and neighbors. And it's a Christian duty. It's a family duty, and it's something that has held the South together and made us unique all of our history. And we want to maintain that. And I've seen several people comment that we are a family, and we are.
Yes.
And we make no distinction between skin color. We make no distinction of high or low social status. Protestant or Catholic or Jewish, it doesn't matter. We're all kith and kin, and we're going to try to take care of each other. Just like Mississippi, when y'all attacking my brothers, my cousins, my uncles in South Carolina, you got me to deal with. And of course, all the other southern states. So that's so important, this sense of family, which is really come under attack through our postmodernist era. The family is really under attack, just like our Christian faith is, as well as our Confederate heritage.
Yes, sir. You are correct.
Commander, one of the things, and let's see, we got about 9 minutes. So one of the things that I used to hear all the time, I don't hear it as much as I used to, is what's going on in the Confederation. I never hear from anything. Well, most of those people never read the Confederate Veteran, I'm afraid. But again, that's every other month. You might want to remind people of some of the things we've got going on that they can, make sure that they're getting communications from us.
Oh, there's something always going on. How many of y'all out there use any kind of social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram? You can go out there and you can find something to do just about every day. If not, you're going to be able to find something every weekend.
That's
right.
As
far as what National is doing, I'll go and tell you, we had the Rebel Rouser cruise in, and we had 75 cars show up. We had a lot of people that come through the property. So that makes people aware of what we're doing, because these are not Confederate-minded people, but they come onto our property. They come through the museum. They went through the house, and they got a taste of Southern hospitality. And now they're going to leave there with a positive reinforcement of we are good people. So, that stuff like that's what we're going to keep going on. We have the Rusty Sutler that is going to be coming up in September. I believe it's September 24th. And that's just going to be where we're going to have people out there selling anything from vintage artifacts to, we've all gone to these, and I don't hate to call them trinkets, but you come and you go through these antique malls. It's going to be people set up like that on the property, and it's to bring people in there to set up, to sell, and people to come there and buy. So we have those going on. Then the first Saturday in October, that is going to be our GEC meeting. And, if you're a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, you can come and sit in on a GEC meeting. We do not hide these. We don't keep people from coming. You're more than welcome. The only time that you would not be able to sit in is if we go into executive session, where we're going to be talking about something that's very sensitive. But other than that, come on in, sit down, have a good time. Let us know that you're coming. That way you'll be able to give you a lunch on Saturday. But, come and that. And then we're going to have the Southern Tour of Homes, or the Murray County Tour of Homes, which is going to be the first weekend in December. And that's Friday and Saturday. Will people be coming through Elm Springs? Then we're already starting to look at next year. And as you know, the first weekend in May, we're going to have another homecoming and pilgrimage. So,
you've got a lot going on. See, now,
yes, sir.
I can find out about that by talking to you, but not everybody has that privilege. But if you are subscribing to the Telegraph, you'll get that information. And also, don't forget about SCV Chat. It's on, and then look around the Confederation. We've done a tremendous effort to get the information out to the people. Of course, the Confederate veteran, and don't forget the I do the Confederate Legion newsletter for everyone who's a part of the Confederate Legion. And again, I'm going to put in a plug. We need the money. We're running low. We need you to rejoin. And one of the things I want to surprise, I don't think I'll surprise you. I think Donald's already talked to Jason about this, but the Confederate Legion is a volunteer group. Ray Shorts and his staff, he has to shut down his business to handle our business, and that's not right. I mean, Jason's not complained about it, but Ray hasn't complained about it, but I want to bring at least the money gathering and setting and letting people know when there's time to re-up. I want that done by the staff in Elm Springs. And even if we have to use some Confederate Legion money to pay for some extra to do it, it needs to be centralized. We need to make it easier for people to join and to know when it's time to re-up. Because I've had a number of people come to me and say, "Hey, I'm a member, but I don't know. Is it time to, and they try to give me. So that's just one of the things, but we're experiencing growing pains. We're building this as we go. And I know we probably upset some people because we're not doing it fast enough or the way that they would do it. And Lord knows I'm open to any kind of suggestions. Jason, we got 4 minutes. Can I share with the people what I shared with you about my email from Berlin, Germany?
Oh, please do. Please do. Folks, you got to hear this.
Yeah. And this is when I sent out the constant contact notice about the commander's comment being on tonight. I got a email. I mean, he must have been up. Of course, you got to realize Berlin, he said that 7 p.m. would be 4 a.m. his time. So he said, I'm not going to be up. I'll have to watch it when it's, posted to YouTube. But he must have been on his computer because about maybe 5 minutes after I sent out the constant contact, he said, "Great, Mr. Kennedy, I want to hear about it. I'm going to have to listen to it, when it's posted because I'm not going to get up at 4 a.m. He said he's in Berlin, Germany. And he said, I just wanted you to know that we just got back. We held a memorial service for Jeb Stuart's chief of staff. Now, I talked to an expert in military history, World War II, Dr. Sandy Mitchum, who is fluent in German. And he said that Jeb Stuart didn't have a chief of staff. He had a quartermaster and aide de camp but the guy's name was von Bark. Now, I have butchered that, so forgive me, Sandy. I don't speak German. Forgive me, folks in Berlin and Germany. I don't speak German. I murder English. That's enough. But anyway, they held a memorial service for Colonel, I believe it's Horace von Bach, but at his grave site in Poland. Now, he served with Jeb Stuart. He went back home after the war, and his home was Prussia. And because the way geography is, it changed. Sandy says close enough. Thank you, Sandy. Mm-hmm. I know you're lying, but thank you anyway. But because of the change in borders, Prussia, is no longer there. It's now Germany, but the Polish border is where von Brock's gravesite is, and he has a mausoleum there. Very nice thing. And they held a reenactment memorial there in Poland with Czech, Polish, and German reenactors. And to top it off, it was part of the sponsored by the local government in Poland, and that local government is busily refurbishing and taking care of that mausoleum and refurbishing it. They are preserving Confederate monuments in Poland. So I just thought that is wonderful. I just think that's great. God bless the Czechs, the Germans, and the Poles for doing that for our Confederate heroes, our Confederate ancestors. And I just thought that was a wonderful thing. And so I told Chris that I was going to. Chris McLaurin is the gentleman's name in Berlin. I don't know how a McLaurin got to Berlin, Germany, but that's probably a story in itself. I have asked Sandy Mitchum, who is, again, Dr. Mitchum. I hate to say this because I know he's listening, but I'm going to give him the big head, but the guy is brilliant. He is a true scholar who would not be ruined by a PhD. That's the great thing about it. But he is fluent in German, and he is a scholar in World War II as well as Confederate history. And I'm going to get him to do us a video. If Ray Shores can tape it for us or record it for us, a video on this guy and who he is, what he did, where he's, and maybe Chris can get us some photographs of the mausoleum where he is in Poland.
Yeah.
So I just think it'd be a great thing, and I think our members would like to see it, and they could probably use it as a camp program for us.
Yeah.
All right. With that,
I loved it. I love that. I think it's absolutely great story. And the fact that we have other countries are celebrating Confederate history. They're celebrating Confederate history. They know the importance of what our ancestors did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think it's a great deal. And I think that this ought to be turned into a program. I would love to see pictures of what they did. And the fact that the government is involved in protecting it.
And protecting, not tearing it down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. To me, there's modern day heroes. That's all they are, is modern day heroes.
Well, I appreciate you spending the hour with us, Commander.
Well, if you're going to call it quits, I'd like to address a couple of things.
Well, I was going to ask you before we sign off, because I wanted you to have the last word, because again, this is not the Ron Kennedy show. This is the Commander-in-Chief Jason Boshers show. So
I love the way
go for it.
I love the way you say that. I'm gonna have to get you to teach me to talk that way sometime. I'd like to address a couple of things. One of them concerning the museum, and this has been brought up numerous times, and that is about getting the museum open on the weekends. We do know that is okay. I just see something popped up, needs to be open on Saturdays. Okay, yes, there wasn't anything in the budget to be able to create that right now. And here's the reason why. Sometimes you wonder why this stuff doesn't happen. If you were at the national reunion, you saw us have to pass a budget. Well, it was a balanced budget. With the funds we have, for us to have somebody open on Saturday, we're going to have somebody that is an employee. Somebody said, well, we can get volunteers. Well, you can get volunteers to watch people in the house, and you can get volunteers to help people in the museum. But we cannot get volunteers to be able to work the cash drawer and to sell merchandise. They have to be employees. So that means that we would actually have to hire somebody to work on Saturday. Now, as you know, right now, that was not in the budget. There are plans to try to work around that right now. In other words, if somebody is willing to take a Saturday and be off a day during the week, where they can work on a Saturday and be off a day during the week. That's the discussion right now. But until we can get that, we can find people that will man the museum, and we'll find people that can be inside the house as volunteers. But we have to have a paid employee there to be able to handle the money. That is a 501c3 federal government kind of tax deal, and for the betterment of the organization kind of stuff. So that is because with insurance and everything else, we cannot have volunteers handling money. So that is one of the things that is going to happen during the national reunion. I spoke with Georgia Division Commander Tim Pilgrim concerning Stone Mountain. As you know, Stone Mountain has come under a lot of heat over the last couple of years. Well, and a few years back, I believe it was under when Paul Gramling was Commander-in-Chief, we turned the event at Stone Mountain in April into a national event. And I'm talking with Tim Pilgrim now to make the one this coming April a national event. So, you were talking about things we're going to have coming up. That is one of those things we're working on it. Don't have a date yet. We're getting it narrowed down, and it's going to have to be worked out. But right now, we're still in the planning stages. But we're looking at making that a national event. And I did see something come across there, and I got sent a private message on it concerning Maury County schools coming to the museum. As you know, the Elm Springs and all the stuff that we have, everything that we have in Columbia, Tennessee, that is all in Maury County. Maury County schools have been asked. Now, we have had some parents that were homeschooling that brought their kids there. But as far as getting them to come, yes, we have asked, and we have asked some surrounding. We have not gotten any takers. For them to be able to come there in the spring, we're going to have to get on their schedule now. When they first start their school system and they start their planning, they have their built-in field trip days. Yeah. So we can't wait until January and ask because it's already set. So right now we're in the process of asking for a date. So maybe when we get to the spring of next year, we can have some of them show up. But yes, we have asked, and yes, we're going to continue to ask. I can be quite stubborn. No, when you come into something like this, no means no right now. And that's the reason why. And the reason why I say that is you have different people in offices. You let an election cycle go by and you have a few more people that are different on any kind of school board or election board. They're going to feel different about it. So what is a no now? If you get active and you get involved and you keep up with things in 2 years after a couple of election cycles, might be a yes. Right. And that is the reason why you just don't say, well, they told us no, I'm done. Right. You don't do that.
Thank you. So Thank you, Commander-in-Chief. We do appreciate your enthusiasm, and I hope 2 years from now, you and I both will be just as enthused as we are now, and we're going to double the size of our organization. We're going to get this debt just about off, if not completely off our backs, and we're going to spend a lot of time at the national level and our local camps, which is the key to a successful SCV. Yes. Local camps are going to become agents of influence in their area for all things Southern.
Hallelujah. Great words. I believe them. The individual and the camp.
And remember, folks, the first Thursday of every month, we'll do the commander's comment, assuming the commander is well and I'm well. If not, then Donald will fill in for one or the other of us. So we always have a spare tire, and he makes a good spare tire.
Yes. I hope this worked out well. It worked out well for me. This doing it as kind of a live format, I like that. I think that whereas if we sat down with a list of questions and went through them, it wouldn't kind of be that reaction that we would normally get. So I thank you for willing to do this, and I thank you for your time for doing this. Thank you very much.
It's an honor, sir. It's an honor.
The honor is mine.
No, well, let's pat each other on the back until we both get tired, okay? But,
Okay, but
with-
let's go pat some other people on the back and get them busy at these camp levels.
well,
You know,
and I tell you, we've got some good people at the camp level, new
Yes.
division commanders, old division commanders, and I believe we can win this. I wanted to remind everybody, if you have a question, send it in on the chat. If I know we hadn't been able to get to any questions tonight, but if you have a question, I will respond to them. And also, I will be sending out the link to this when Moose posted on YouTube, so you'll be able to give it to friends who were not able to hear it tonight. With that, thank you very much. We've been an hour and 10 minutes. Moose, you're now in control.
thank y'all, gentlemen.